We are green, 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 and everybody's calling alt season. I've got my metric for alt season. That's what we're going to discuss in this video. And we're going to do a full market update. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin, what dominance needs to do, what Ethereum needs to do. We're going to be looking at some blue chip altcoins. We're going to be looking at the USDT dominance. We're going to be looking at the Bitcoin dominance. All of these charts measure a collective picture. This collective picture is all lining up towards alt season 2025. Things are looking good. Let's dive in. So where do we start and why do we start here? We start with Bitcoin, the big daddy within the whole of the crypto market. We know it's the big daddy within the whole of the crypto market. It is the biggest performer within the space by how much? We could check, look at dominance by currently 60%. So if you think 60% of the whole of the crypto market cap collectively, you've got Ethereum, you've got Solana, you've got XRP, you've got Cardano, you've got Dogecoin, you've got all of these big blue chips. Add all them together, then add the rest of the crypto market together. They're only 40% of the whole of the market cap of the crypto market in comparison to Bitcoin's 60%. So that's why we start with Bitcoin. That's why we look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is trying to break out of a bull flag as we speak. Now, one thing that you can see now, and one thing that we've been saying for months and months and months is, as alt season starts to progress, we'll start seeing one thing with Bitcoin. It'll start slowing down. It'll still go up, but it won't go up as much as what it does in comparison to these big swings here, these big swings here. So Bitcoin's cooling off. The rotation of capital is coming out of Bitcoin. It went into Ethereum. We talked about that before it happened. Going into Ethereum. It's still going into Ethereum, and Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. And we'll look at that very shortly. So you can see that these swings now are very small in comparison. However, when you look at the collective crypto market, you can see 181%, 152%, 122%, 127%. This is on the monthly. Bitcoin hasn't done this. So we can see the curve, the risk curve is changing from Bitcoin into altcoins. So we're going to look at crypto market. We're starting off with Bitcoin. You can see that Bitcoin's trading at 116,000. If it breaks out of this bull flag, expect the next target to be 123,156. So you're not expecting big swings from Bitcoin. You could tell that by the dominance. This is the daily chart, by the way, and we've been progressing this. We said once we've broken this trend, see an acceleration to the downside, see altcoins start doing this because the dominance dropped. The dominance, the Bitcoin dominance is telling us a story. When Bitcoin dominance is going down, that means altcoins collectively are going up. All of the rest of the crypto market's going up collectively against Bitcoin during this period. During this period, you get your alt season. So this is a good thing that dominance is dropping. This is what we were talking about on the channel last time we did an update. We wanted a rejection at this point. We've got the 200 daily moving average here. We want the Bitcoin dominance to drop, and we want it to drop hard. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure how far is the next likely resistance point or support point, should I say. We're going to add in our Fibonacci extension tool from here to this low. That's pretty much confirmed as a lower high. And then you've got your 1-to-1 equal measured move, and you've got your 1272 extension. Clues look left, you can see that's a support base. If you just add that on there, that's a support base. That acted as support previously. You've got your 1272 down here. That was the support. And you've got your 1618. So when we get this acceleration down, expect at least a 1-to-1 or a 1272 if it's an extension of this wave here. And that is a pullback within Bitcoin dominance. That's what we're waiting for. And that's going to create a surge in altcoins. Then we look at the next one, Ethereum. We've been talking about this for years on the channel, but it's starting to look a lot better now because the stars are starting to align. We've got Ethereum that's been knocking on this door of 4,000. It's been rejected. It's been rejected. It's been rejected. What happens if you keep smashing on the ceiling and smashing on the ceiling? You ultimately break through. And that's exactly what Ethereum is trying to do as we speak. It's trying to break through the 4,000 barrier. One thing that it's got in its side, guys, is this. We talked about this. Overbought, that's the stochastic. We can pull that up. Overbought, over 80. When it's overbought and it's at resistance, $4,000, expect it to pull back. We talked about this in the previous videos. I've done a Jasmine video, I've done an Algorand video. Go back and watch those two, guys. We talked about it in there. So we've got a pullback. What's happening during this pullback? During this pullback, the bulls are laying off because the bulls have taken profits at this area here. The bears are trying to push price down at this area here because they know that it's been rejected all these times previously before. That's where their entry is. The stop losses are up here. Once the stop losses get stopped out, that'll create a squeeze and an acceleration to the upside. So when Ethereum breaks and closes above 4,000, expect Ethereum to start really pushing forward and making big swings. When that happens, then things go down, further down the risk curve, into your Solanas, into your Cardanos, etc. So you can see it's banging on the door and it's banging on, sorry, it's banging on the ceiling and banging on the ceiling. But one thing we've got on our side is it's come from an oversold position whilst we're at this resistance level. Let's see if we can get through by the time this comes overbought. Let's see if Ethereum can finally smash through the 4,000 wall. If it does, you'll start seeing another thing. This is the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. And you could see one thing. We were talking about it at this bottom here. We knew something was going to happen. We knew that Ethereum was going to start outperforming Bitcoin. And we've been watching these swings as the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. And Ethereum's been outperforming. Ethereum has been putting in higher highs consistently, higher lows, higher highs, coming back down, higher lows. This is exactly what we expected. And go back and watch my video, the half price Bitcoin level, because we were down here when I said, this is how you can get half price Bitcoin. It was at $106,000. And I said that you could get it for the equivalent of $53,000 by going into the second least risky asset. I said this, guys, it's a couple of months ago now. Go back and watch it. I said this a couple of months ago that you can buy Ethereum, the second least risky asset within the whole of the crypto market. And when this gets to 0.04604 and you sell your Ethereum back into Bitcoin, that's the equivalent of buying Bitcoin at 53,000 when it was at 106,000 within the Satoshi value. It doesn't matter if it's dollars, guys. It doesn't matter if it's, as long as the Satoshi value remains consistent, that's what you're aiming for. So it is exactly the equivalent when it hits 0.4604. But the main thing is Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. We have our Bitcoin season. This is when the market bleeds. Bitcoin bleeds, but the market bleeds along with it. And then you start seeing Bitcoin start outperforming during the first couple of years after the bear market. So Bitcoin will front run, Bitcoin will go early, and then the rest of the altcoins need to catch up during Ethereum season. So we've got quite a long way to go during Ethereum season. There's the last ETH season. There's the last Bitcoin season. There's the previous Bitcoin season. So Bitcoin, when during a bear market, Bitcoin outperforms, Ethereum bleeds. During a bull market, during an alt season, Ethereum outperforms and Bitcoin bleeds against it. It doesn't mean it's not going up. It means Ethereum's going up a lot more. So that's why we look at Ethereum. It's a bit late now, guys. If you're looking to get into Ethereum to try and get in a half price Bitcoin, you've got to go further down the risk curve now because Ethereum's the second least risky asset. It's the second biggest market cap leader. So the further down your risk curve you go, the more that's going to outperform Bitcoin, the higher the risk that you're in. So as you start progressing towards the end of alt season, you're going to need these high risk market caps to start getting the half price Bitcoin levels in Satoshi value because you're further down the risk curve and you're further down the risk curve as alt season starts progressing and pushing up before ultimately it gets exhausted. So next thing we look at is the dollar. How strong is the dollar? The dollar's weak. You can see a move to the downside. This is what we're expecting, back to this support level, and then we're putting a lower high. That lower high consists with previous support level, which now is acting as resistance. We've got a reversal here. We've got a lower low, lower close candle below this support. So you'd expect a continuation to the downside. Continuation to the downside in the USDT dominance. That's the dollar within crypto, guys. The USDT dominance, when that starts going down, that coincides with an acceleration in altcoins. So you'll see dominance going down. You'll see USDT dominance going down. That's a good thing. That's exactly what we want because that's going to push ETH BTC up. That's going to push Bitcoin up. That's going to push the rest of the crypto market up because people are spending their dollars, what they're spending their dollars on, what they're spending their tether on, they're spending it on altcoins. What happens if you come out of something and go into something else? That market cap goes down and the other market cap goes up. So they're spending their dollars and they're increasing the market cap of the altcoins. And when they're doing that, it's bringing the dominance down. So that's why we look at that. Next thing we're going to look at is the S&P. Are we in a healthy market? You can see that we come back down. We've tested this previous level. We've double bottomed at this previous level and we're hovering at a point here where it's looking like the S&P is struggling. So the S&P is cooling down. S&P could cool off, hold this higher low, and then continue back to the upside. But it's a strong thing to monitor as far as sentiment's concerned. You can see that Bitcoin started slowing down, and you can see that the S&P started slowing down. So you look at the S&P outside of crypto, that is the stock index, the stock index in America, and we look at that outside of crypto to get sentiment, to get an idea of sentiment. We look at Bitcoin within crypto to get an idea of sentiment. You can see the charts look very similar. Both hitting new highs, both come back down, both retested, both slowing down, both cooling off, and they're allowing the rotation of capital to come out of them, stocks, Bitcoin, USDT, and going into altcoins. So all of these collectively creates that surge of liquidity going out of the things that we don't want to hold into the things that we do want to hold for a short period of time before we can come back out of them and go back into the least risky assets. That's the aim of the game. Next thing is going to be my metric for Altseason. This is going to be my metric for taking profits, guys. Once we get a break, once we get a close of the all-time high, 1.14 trillion of total 3, that's my confirmation for Altseason. That's when I'm going to scale out my positions over a period of time, 10%, 15%, 20%. Haven't decided yet, guys, but I'm going to scale out over a period of 10 to 12 weeks. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to be doing along the way. So that's my metric. That's 10.23% away. That's 105.86 billion away. That's nothing as far as the whole of the crypto market outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum is concerned. That's what total 3 represents. It's hardly anything. So Russell 2000 is the next thing. You see Russell 2000 is catching up. You look at the total 3, you can see the total 3 is catching up. It's hit 78.6. You can see the Russell 2000. That's the equivalent, guys. The Russell 2000 is the equivalent of high risk stocks outside of crypto. So this is the stock market, and the Russell 2000 is the high risk stocks. So you look at the S&P 500, new highs coming back, retesting. You look at the Russell 2000, that's lagging. Why? Because people go into the least risky assets during times of quantitative tightening and during times of stagnant interest rates. So they're holding the least risky asset until interest rates come down, until stimulus starts going into the economy. Then they'll start taking on risk because there's more money in the economy. When interest rates are down, mortgage payments are cheaper, loans are cheaper, so you can get loans more. Banks will start stimulating the economy and pushing more money in the economy. Guess what? People want this. Retail wants this. Retail wants risk. So that's why we look at the Russell 2000. Right, I promised you some altcoins. Let's quickly go over some blue chips. You can see Cardano. Cardano's broke trend. That's a tick. We've got a resistance barrier on Cardano, 84 cents, and then we've got little resistance all the way back up here, $1.32. Remember, that is the key level, $1.32. Why? Been monitoring this all through the bear market. That is the previous retracement, 38.2% of its all-time high. We predicted it was going to get a rejection there. It got a rejection there. We've pulled back, and now we've broke trend. See, once we take out this high, an acceleration back to the $1.32. And this is where the magic happens, guys. This is the squeeze. Once you break $1.32, you've got little resistance all the way up to $2. And guess what $2 is? That's your 61.8% retracement of the all-time high to the T. That's a psychological round number. Expect that to be your next resistance point. And as we got this big drop here in 2021, expect the same here, acceleration. Why? Because of the lack of build-up of price action. When there's no build-up of price action, there's no structure. When there's no structure, there's no consistency. When there's no consistency, people don't put their buy and sell orders in the same place. So that creates an easier barrier to start breaking up in this instance for the bulls. So in the short term, once we break this, take out the 94 cents, 93 cents, take out 93 cents, you've got $1.32, break through $1.32, you've got $2 and beyond. You've got AVAX next. See, AVAX looks good. AVAX has took back one thing, it's 200 daily moving average. It's hard to stick a trend line on here. This is a bit of a bull flag, but it is hard to stick a trend line on here. But we have got a key resistance barrier that we can see that we're at now. So $23.41. Once we break out of this level here, 26.64, and we get a break and a candle close above this level, then you've got an acceleration all the way up to $50 on AVAX. You can see one thing. Let's stick an extension tool on here. From the low to the high, back to the swing low. So you'd look for, with this wave 3, you've got a wave 1 here, you've got a wave 2 here, you want a wave 3, which is going to be bigger than the wave 1. So you want a minimum of a minimum of bigger than a 1-to-1 equal measure move. 1-to-1 equal measure move is $32.33. What I would expect is at least a 1-2-7-2, which is $35.51. Then you've got your 1-6-1-8 at $39.53. But clues look left, guys. Look what happens. Look at the 618. So you look at the 618. Look what happened before. This was respected. Look at the 1-2-7-2. This area was respected. You look at the 1-to-1 equal measure move. This was respected. So you've got support, 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 support. And that acted as support and that acted as resistance consistently. So you can see these magic moves just from here, the low to the high, back down to the low, understanding that there's a high probability that the lows in here created this buy zone here before, guys. Lows in here, broken the 200 daily moving average. You expect a continuation. You expect wave 3 to be bigger than wave 1. So you'd expect a minimum of 1272. Clues look left. That is a big resistance barrier because that was a support barrier here. So that's what I'm looking for on Avax, XRP. XRP's just been absolutely smashing it, guys. Go back. You probably have to go back. When do you go back now? 2nd of September 2024, nearly a year ago. I'd said that this was one of the biggest or the biggest trading wedge within the whole of the crypto market, within the highest range. And once this breaks out, it is going to break out with volatility. And that's exactly what happened. So the guys that got this here, pat yourself on the back. Mind you, that was nearly a year ago now, guys. Can't believe that. So we've got a break of trend here. We've got a break of trend here. You've got this resistance barrier here. Is this bullish? Is this bearish? We're at resistance. One thing that's bullish is this. When you look for the extreme high of the previous move and you get a candle close above that on the higher time frame, that is actually bullish. So is there any divergence here? Yes. So we've got a bit of a divergence going on here as well. See there? RSI putting in a higher low. This is shorter time frame. What's happening? You're putting in a lower low. You're expecting a bounce. We've got a bounce. Where's the next rejection point? It's this level here. What is this level? That was the previous high. So that's the area to break through. And once we break through there, let's have a look at the next resistance barrier. Once we break through there, what we're going to do is stick our fib retracement, get it right, to the swing low. We're going to look for extensions. So you've got your 1272, your 1618. You've got your 1272 all the way up here at $3.87. You've got your 1618 at $4.50. $4.50 is a psychological round number. So that is my next target once we break out of $3.38. And the last one, we'll do Chainlink. Chainlink looks like it's breaking out now. Yeah. So we got a break of Chainlink now. So we've got one thing with Chainlink. Let's get this up. 38.2% retracement. That's going to be your resistance barrier. That is $23 exactly. So that's the 38.2. We talked about that on Cardano. That's where Cardano rejected. We previously on Chainlink actually breached this level and then got forced back through. But that's going to be the next resistance point. If we just do the same process here, we can see if we've got any sticking points back down to that low. You've got your 1272. Look at this, guys. 1272. Did price react to that previously? Yes. Yes. You got your 1618. Did price react to that previously? Yes. Yes. So 1272 extension of this previous move here, you've got $27.38, your 1618 at $30.68. So that's more shorter term price action on Chainlink. Right, that's about it from me for now. If you do want to discuss anything, if you've got any questions, get yourself on the Discord group, link in the description below. That is completely free. Say hello to a couple of people here, actually, to None the Wiser, absolute legend. We've got Bully Bassett. The things that he's been telling me in the private chat has been absolutely blowing my mind because he's going outside the box. He's looking at things like what we've discussed together previously, components to go into semiconductors, AI chips. We're looking at renewable energy. We're looking at things that are going to perform well during the next few years, guys. Unfortunately, military contracts, things that are going to perform well during a bear market. And that's the kind of thing that I want to do as far as self-development is concerned. So Bully Bassett, pat yourself on the back because you're really taking on the self-development. Paul, absolute legend in the making. Paul puts charts on here, and I can tell Paul's been with our community for quite a while now, and he puts charts on there. And each time that he puts a chart on there, it blows my mind because I can see that he's learning time and time again the further he progresses. So I know that Paul's doing stuff outside of what I'm teaching him, and I know that he's doing self-development. That's what this community is all about. We've got lots of great guys in here. Supreme, absolute legend in the making. We've got Ryan. There's another legend. Every single one of you guys. So we've got so many friends in the Discord group. Apologies if I haven't called you out here, but I just wanted to say a big thank you to a few of you guys. Like I say, link in the description below. It is completely free. Get yourself in there if you've got any questions. Your self-development journey starts here. What do you want to see on the next one, actually, guys? Let me know in the comments.